Un saludo a toda esa fanática de los cangrejeros. Llevamos mucho tiempo trabajando para que esta próxima temporada ustedes se puedan vivir la experiencia cangrejera a otro nivel. Y para empezar, estoy aquí para presentarle a nuestro nuevo dirigente, Brad Greenberg. Brad, first of all, welcome back to the BSN. How does it feel being back?
Feels great, Philippe. I'm excited. I have a lot of gratitude for the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to it. A lot of exciting days ahead, hopefully.
You have coached all around the world. How does the BSN and its players compare to other leagues?
I tell everybody that asks me about that, how competitive the BSN is. I think it's a hidden gem. People don't realize the quality of play, the quality of coaching, um, the demands physically and mentally to play such a condensed schedule, and it requires men. This is not a league for faint of heart. This is a league for people that want to compete, that are fiercely competitive. And if you survive in this league, you've got heart, and it's fun to be part of it.
How special it is now being part of this league, but wearing the Cangrejeros colors.
I'm aware of the club that has, such a strong history. Carlos Arroyo, Piccolin, you know, names that everybody that knows basketball is aware of, and certainly, players that made their mark in Puerto Rico and also outside Puerto Rico. It's a fabled club, and to be part of it is really neat.
We have a great group of guys. We have veterans like Angel Matias, our captain, who was an MVP candidate last year. We have Emi Andújar, Ramon Clemente, but we also have young guys like a reigning rookie of the year, Alfonso Plomer, Isaiah Palermo, who was an all-star in his first year, Emmanuel Maldonado. How do you see this project and this team going forward?
Well, I think it's ideal to have a mix. You've got young players that want an opportunity, want to show that they can handle more. And then you've got some veterans that can add, the necessary experience because they've been there, they've been through ups and downs, and they know how to stay on an even keel. So it's a good blend, and I think that's healthy. You don't want a team that is just all young players because you've got to grow through the good and bad times, but you also need some youth. You need that enthusiasm. You need younger bodies too, because the league is so demanding physically. So you need people that can be available for a whole season as opposed to needing to take a lot of days off.
No, that's very important. And you know that home court advantage is everything in basketball. And you're going to coach in the Coliseo Roberto Clemente, the Catedral de Baloncesto de Puerto Rico, basketball cathedral of Puerto Rico. How special would it be for you to hang a rafter there?
Wow. Well, that's why you do it. I remember one time I was asking a question of a very famous former New York Knicks player, Bill Bradley, about what were some of the greatest experiences he ever had. And he looked at me like I was crazy and said, winning the championship, of course. Like there's nothing else. So in this league, you've got a lot of teams that think they have the potential to do that. And that's why it's a great league. So anytime you feel you've got a shot, that you can have a group strong enough to compete for real, you got to make the most of that opportunity. So I know that the club is got a good roster. There'll be some pieces to still work with, but I think that the club, like others, has the right to look at the season and say, yeah, we're going after it. We're not just playing; we're playing for a championship.
We know how great of a coach you are, but we also know how great of a scout you are. And we have a high draft pick in the next BSN draft. How important it is for you to start this project with that high of a draft pick?
Well, I think I trust Renee, who is, I'm sure, already got lists of names that we'll have to talk about and watch. And it's always important to evaluate talent and try to project, what a player can do. Hopefully I'll be involved in that process. But I trust that he's already got that started, and we'll work well together on that.
And I know you're gonna have a great pick. All the BSN fans already saw you in the league, but what can the Cangrejeros fan expect from a team coached by you?
No matter what team I coach, I always try to have the team, one, act like a team, to have a connectedness, because you can't win unless you have that. Two, for them to compete fiercely, like for people to watch them play and walk out of the gym going, that team plays hard. Um, the third thing is to play defense, with a purpose, not just this is what you do when you don't have the ball. No, you have to try to win that defensive possession, and there has to be a tactic around how you're going to guard situations. But more than anything, there's got to be something inside you, something up here, uh, that you approach that possession like we have to stop these guys. This is an important possession. And then the fourth thing is pass the ball to the open man. It sounds simple, but the ball's got to move. It moves quicker in the air than it does with dribbling. And if you have a team that is willing to make the extra pass, to always look for the open man, you got a chance. So those four things, and I talked to the team about that from day one. And we say if at the end of a game we can check off the boxes of those four things, pretty good chance we won, or at least we played real well, and it took a heck of an opponent to put us away that night.
And we have a great shooters around, so if you have the open man, they're
Sure,
gonna make the shot.
ball movement equals good shots.
It equals good shots. We already have a great roster, but I wanted to ask for people to know what is one of the things that you look for in a player that for you to put in on the court.
Well, an appreciation for those four things I just mentioned, but also a feel for the game. Like basketball to me is the best game. Um, and when you have five guys playing as one unit, it's special. It's special to watch, and fans can sense it. They can see it. So somebody that has a feel for the game and understanding of the game. Um, a friend of mine who was a fellow NBA scout when I worked with the Trailblazers and he was working for the Knicks would say when we'd watch a play, go that the game is easy for that player. It's not a hard game for him. Um, I like to find players that the game appears easy to them. Like they understand when there's a 2-on-1, that should end up in a layup. That should end up in a good shot, and it doesn't have to be fancy. It can just be simple.
Just make the right play.
That's all. Yeah, I think if you can find a bunch of players where the game is easy to them, then you have the potential for pretty basketball.
How easy is the transition when you have a player like Angel Matias, our captain, that has been through it all? In this team, we had our ups and downs last season. He always kept straight. He always kept being a mentor to the young guys. How easy is for the transition for a coach to have a player like that being your captain?
Oh, it's crucial. I didn't always feel that it was so important to have, a captain. I thought that, you needed all the players to act like captains. But the longer I've been around it, the more I can appreciate, if there is one special guy in a locker room who was always thinking about the big picture, was always thinking about how do we get the group to be stronger together. Um, so I'm hoping Angel is somebody that can provide that. And I'm hoping there are a few other guys that think the same way. The more you have in the locker room that think like that, yeah, the stronger your team's going to be.
Obviously, there's the basketball World Cup right now running. We'll know you're being part with the Canada national team. But now, how do you see the Puerto Rican national team, and how do you see that team in the World Cup?
Well, first, I think they've got three terrific coaches. So I think that they're in great hands. I think, the people that have put the squad together, have done a good job. They've got a younger group this tournament,
Hmm.
but that's okay. And they're fighters. They struggled the other day, playing against a good team, but they didn't give up and they had a good second half. So I think, they have a fighting spirit. Uh, and, hopefully they're going to win one more game, advance to the next round, and then anything can happen in knockout stage.
You have coached a lot of players from different nationalities. What is the best trait that you can say about a Puerto Rican player?
Wow. Um, Competitiveness, you know, just playing with heart, uh, being fiercely competitive, you know, not afraid. Yeah, there's this a special level of competitiveness in the BSN. Sometimes a player can get a little bit out of hand, you know, and be challenging
Yeah,
another player in the middle of a game, which uh, I'm not so sure that's always the best thing, but it is an indication that you know that nobody's afraid of each other. Uh,
and they just want to win.
yeah, of course, but you know, to not be afraid to challenge somebody, to look them right in the eye, to be competitive like that.
Hold yourself accountable too.
Sure, but yeah, some players just play at the game. You know, they're on the court, they go up and down. You know, they win or lose. It doesn't really bother them too much. You know, then there's some players that you know they're out there with one thing in mind: I want to win. Period. I'll do whatever it takes, whatever it takes. And there are an awful lot of Puerto Rican players that have that inside them.
That's great to know. And you know that we already have our roster, but we have two imports coming. We don't know who it's going to be, but we already saw Kenneth Farid around. Last year we had David Stockton that you already coached in the other team. So what are you looking for in those two players that you can bring to the team?
Well, you want your import players to have a chance to be the best players on the court every night. That's what you're shooting for. So you know, with Kenneth, you've got one of the most competitive guys who is a terrific rebounder, who runs the court well, who competes, who's a team player. You know, has so many tangible qualities and also physical attributes. But you do need a point guard. Uh, and not to say that there aren't some players on the team that can play that position. Cliff can play that position. Um, but, you know, you have to find someone you think is special enough to break down defenses, to create shots not only for themselves, but for their teammates. And as a way to connect the team, thinks of getting people involved as well as, you know, attacking, you know, his own matchup. But yeah, I like the makeup so far of the team, and you know, looking forward to getting them together in a few months.
The expectations are high, especially for the fans. The fans are crazy and they want to celebrate that championship. What are your expectations this season?
You know, every team I coach, I have the same expectations, and that is for us to try each and every day to get as close to our capacity as possible. That's all you can do. It's all you can ask of a player. You know, try to be as good as you can be every day. And if you do that day after day after day, you can make some good things happen for sure. So rather than, you know, obviously everybody can aspire to be a champion, but you know, aspirations aren't strategy. You've got to have a strategy behind it. That means you've got to have the talent,
Mm-hmm.
a roster that is capable, and then you've got to have a mentality to want to get better each and every day. And you got to have a little luck too.
Yeah, of course. Luck is everything. Now, what message do you have to the Cangrejeros fans that wants to know you, wants to see the team win, and what message can you bring to them to make them feel comfortable with that decision of you being the head coach?
Well, I hope that they'll see someone that has a passion for the game, who still loves to be in the gym, who still loves to try to get a group to connect, who wants to win, uh, and who feels a responsibility to uphold the tradition of the club. I think the BSN is a special league. I know that the Cangrejeros, uh, this club has done a lot, has 8 championships under its belt.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to do everything I can to try to give us the best chance to get number 9.
We were the last dynasty in the BSN, and I think we can start being one this season. There you have it, guys. Ahí tenían a Brad Greenberg, nuestro nuevo dirigente de los Cangueros de Santurce. Brad, it was an honor, and we can't leave without doing palancas arriba.
Palancas arriba.
Yes, ahí tienen.